I think we're going to hear a lot of talk about the voices, but ultimately, you may have to watch it for yourself to decide what's true to you. Ding! This film was very difficult to describe and put together my feelings of. It's very good. I can definitely tell it's very good. However, it's not generic enough to fully describe in generic terms. It's very unusual. It plays a lot like a very experimental film, like an art house thing that you'd see with a much smaller budget being done by a much smaller team. But it's clearly very high budget, or at least very high budget in small areas. There's very few sets, but it does use a lot of detail. If you've managed to miss a lot of the marketing advertising trailers for this thing, I think you should probably continue doing so. Just watch it. It's very good. I swear to you, I found it really good, but very odd. And I think the more you know about it already, potentially the more people will try to ruin it for you. I think there's going to be some very negative reviews. It's difficult. And I think it's perfectly understandable that you may not have seen it marketed, because I can see a lot of people trying to not put this thing on their buses, not put this thing on their posters in their places, because it is not a normal film. It doesn't seem to follow regular structures. It doesn't seem to follow regular themes. It's not very generic. It's just interesting, and I didn't know what was going to happen over and over and over. It was just a roller coaster of concept. Now, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but here is some context for you to know what you're getting into if you want to watch this. Ding! The Voices follows Ryan Reynolds' character Jerry and his mental condition. He hears voices. He hears voices telling him what to do. And with these voices giving him instructions and judgments and telling him that he is or isn't a good person, he tries to logically put faces to the voices and to try and make them make sense. So they take the form of his cat and his dog. The cat and the dog aren't really talking to him. It's merely his inner voices being heard and him trying to deal with that happening. It's portrayed very well by the fact that the cat, the dog, any animal who has a voice in this film, it's actually Ryan doing the voices. And I couldn't tell that. I couldn't tell at all, because that is some good voice acting. If nothing else, this film has made me think, God damn, Ryan Reynolds is actually a really good actor. He's just typecast as shit. I wish I had nicer words for that, but honestly, he's done so many awful films that I've seen, and I haven't seen any of the ones people have said are good. I think that's literally just Buried. In this is a show reel. He's versatile. He is doing awkward mannerisms. He's doing subtle things. He's doing big things. He's talking. He's interesting. He has got this character down. It's fascinating to watch. Now, as the trailer shows you, and as this poster is kind of pointing out to you, one of the things that happens very early in the film, and I will not discuss how or why, he may have killed one of his co-workers and then kept her head in the fridge. And now she has a voice too. Already this is going to be like massive trigger warnings for certain people. If you're not good with gore, if you're not good with blood, you will not like this film. If you're not good with mental illness portrayals at all, or psychopathy, not going to enjoy this. If you want to see something that isn't portraying mental illness as a source of evil, but instead as a reason why some people are complex and they need to be treated appropriately to them, and if people were nicer and actually more compassionate, then they would be fine, then hell yeah, this is exactly what I wanted this film to be. And the whole way through, I have no idea how it was going to end. I was like, how do you end a film of this type? There's no someone becoming a hero. There's no someone becoming a villain, defeat the villain. There's no obvious conclusion for it to bring. And so you're just there for the ride the entire time through as things get better and worse and better and worse for Ryan's character, and you're just hoping that something good will come out of this in the end. Gemma Ariton and Anna Kendrick are both definitely in this film as they are advertised. They are the second or third most prominent characters, definitely, but it's Ryan stealing the whole show. He's playing like 7 different things. He is in and out of his mind. It's marvellous to watch him work this well. As someone who has suffered with feelings of isolation and depression, and has known a lot of people who've suffered with various mental illnesses, and has dated a paranoid schizophrenic, and has relations who have difficulties as well, I saw this trailer and thought this film was either going to be very good, very interesting, or absolutely fucking awful and offensive. And I just had no idea what it would be, and I knew I just had to watch it to find out for myself. I couldn't rely on reviews for this. I had to watch it for myself, because people are going to miss out on these things. People are going to feel offended on people's behalf that they don't understand. People are going to feel empowered despite not having a fucking clue about these things. It's going to be a thing I had to watch. And I'm super glad I did, and I'm super glad I didn't saw it before spoilers. Spoilers are going to make this very difficult, I think, because there's a lot that can be spoiled, and if you know where certain things are going, then it might change some of the emotional punches. There's a lot of emotional punches in this film. There's a lot of you sitting there knowing something is coming, and being like, oh my god, please don't, please don't, please don't, please don't. And sometimes it does, some of the times it doesn't. So I really like the writing in this film. I was not surprised to find that they had also done some work for Erie, Indiana, which is a show I watched ages ago and I loved, and it's very much like this, except has to be for a more all-ages audience, and it was 30-minute shorts, if I'm remembering correctly. It was a TV series, Erie, Indiana, and it was very good. It was kind of like a Gravity Falls, Mofo Mystery style. Very smart kid is trying to investigate these strange things that are happening around him in Erie, in Indiana, a place, these eerie happenings. And each one kind of explored a concept or, you know, something to relation to either science or psychology or space-time. It was all very interesting. And this is like a very elongated version of that, of exploring a man who hears voices, and exploring trauma, and exploring mental illness and mental health facilities, and employee equality programs, and are we doing enough? We kind of are, we kind of aren't. This film's full of morally grey things, and exploring them, and it doesn't present you hand-fed with, here is how you should feel about this, here is how you should feel about this. It just keeps doing things, and kind of leaves you to judge for yourself what's good and what's bad, what's right and what's wrong, what is something meant to make you feel. Rather than spoon-feeding you how you should feel about certain things, the film just kind of rolls on with it, going and going and going, and the whole time Jerry is looking into himself and thinking, how do I feel about this? My actions, my feelings, my psychopathy, my hearing voices, like, what are the alternatives? Are they good? Are they bad? Like, a lot of things come up. How does he feel about medication? How does he feel about taking his own life? It's a thing that comes up a lot through the film. He goes to his therapist and he's asked frequent questions about how the meds working. Are you taking them? Have you felt suicidal thoughts? Have you suffered depression? Are you crying a lot lately? It's stuff that, yeah, I've gone to doctors for depression before. This is stuff that actually gets asked. And it's all on a sheet, and it's not actually being discussed fully. It's check boxes, and it doesn't quite get to the root of the problem, which is why it's allowed to spiral. And that's so true. I was given, like, tick boxes and scales of 1 to 5 for things, rather than, do you think you know why you feel this way? You know, that comes a lot later in the process, and only if they feel there's a danger going on. It's interesting. It's all very interesting. Ultimately, the thing that made me like this film was the overall message, which is that we have systems in place for employee equality. We have systems in place for mental health and helping people. But there's the two major problems are less so, are they working? Because they kind of are, and they kind of aren't at the same time. And it's more about, how much are you helping yourself, and how much are other people helping you? Because socializing and gaining acceptance among the people around you is a two-way street. You can be the nicest person ever, but as no one's giving it back to you, then you will feel isolated and alone. And if you push people away, and they're being good to you, you're gonna feel isolated and alone. And so it kind of debates how many different factors are involved. How much would it take for someone who is mentally unstable to actually do unstable actions? And it puts forward the idea that it's a lot. It's a lot of things, and it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of reasons. Ultimately, I really like that. One thing I also think is not going to get mentioned when people talk about this film is the direction is fantastic. Not only is there amazing actors, there's amazing sets and gorgeous detail, but things like the colour palettes. There's such strong pinks and blues and oranges when everything's sunshiny happy, and when things go dark, everything is filthy and dirty and detailed and dark and dim, and it's a fantastic use of contrast. The film's direction is top notch. One of those things where I had to look up the Wikipedia afterwards and be like, I need to find this director, I need to find this writer, I need to find out what else they have done, and look it the hell up. So, writer Michael R. Perry and director Marjane Satrapi, I am so sorry that I probably got that wrong. Kudos. Goddamn good work. I was honestly surprised that Brian Fuller wasn't involved in this, because it's got his love of comedy and the macabre. And that's ultimately the thing. This is a dark comedy film. I didn't laugh at all because I was viewing it very much from the worried angle. But there was a lot of laughter in that cinema. There was a lot of laughter coming from other people, so, you know, it depends on where your humour thing lies. Like, I really enjoyed Big Nothing. Big Nothing's another very dark comedy. Same with Psychoville, The Lady Killers, League of Gentlemen. Stuff that kind of pushes the boundaries of, is this funny? It's not tasteful, I think it's funny. The Voices plays it quite straight, though, for the most part. It's more dark humorism. Humorism is the idea of jokes that don't make people laugh out loud, but makes people smile and go, yes. And I think it does that very well. So yeah, I seriously recommend The Voices. Several different types of trigger warnings for PTSD, child abuse, blood, stuff going on. A lot of different trigger warnings there. But if you want to see something quite experimental, quite interesting, and surprisingly budgeted, that is probably going to do quite badly, so you should probably watch it very quickly. I'm really hoping it gets like a decent following. I know that I'm probably not in a majority here. Yeah, that's that. Next time I think something more uplifting, because this was a complicated cookie.